Hola, 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 YouTube. It's been a while. Not because I haven't been up to stuff, but because it's summertime. We got new patio furniture. I've been sleeping outside at night a lot. It's fantastic. I love summer. And yeah, so inside stuff kind of doesn't take priority anymore for a while, at least for at least 2 months of the year. Excuse any vibrating and stuff. They're doing construction on a road outside, so I may be wobbly a bit, but let's get right into it because I'm not sure how much storage I have, and I have a bunch of stuff I've done. So first thing, finally watched the original John Wick movie. Keanu Reeves, can't beat him. Story is this guy named John Wick has just lost his wife Helen to some sort of disease, and after her death, she had a puppy delivered to John as kind of something for him to care for. Now that she's gone, because all he really loves is his old Mustang, his '69 Mustang. And so one day, while he's out for a ride in his car with his new dog Daisy, some Russian thug punks at the gas station take an interest in his car, ask him if it's for sale. He says no, takes off. They follow him home. During the night, they beat him down, kill his dog, take his car, and then when this young guy, Yosef, reports back to his father, Viggo, on what happened, Viggo is horrified to find out that he did this to John Wick, who was a former assassin that used to work for Viggo from time to time, and he is not known as the Baba Yaga or the Boogeyman. He is known as the guy you send to kill the Boogeyman. So John Wick, naturally, Viggo reaches out to him and tries to smooth things over, does not take. John Wick goes back to his old assassination ways, and the rest of the movie is just him working his way through Viggo's forces to get to his son and take out his vengeance. Very gritty, very dark, but awesome, actiony. So many ways he kills people, and it's always him, like kind of on. It's not just like he goes in and guns everybody down, no problem. He's always in some sort of trouble, like he's barely surviving, right? Some people come and go, some enemies, some allies during the action, but it's just fantastic. So I've been looking for a cheap copy of number 2, haven't found it yet, but one day it will happen. Next thing, me and James recently just finished watching season 9 of The Simpsons. All 25 episodes on 4 discs. Season 9 was a really solid season. It didn't have some of the standout episodes that you remember from other seasons. Like for me, Mr. Sparkles from the season before is one of those episodes that you'll just never forget. But overall, it was a very good, above average kind of season. Like most of the episodes were really good. There was one singing and dancing one that was kind of weak, but the rest of them were all really good. And there was a lot of like quite memorable ones, like when Homer helps Moe collect insurance on his car, or when Homer tries to run his car into the ocean for him and he doesn't do it well. When Principal Skinner reveals his true identity as not being Principal Skinner, and then a bunch of other ones too. When they find an angel skeleton in the ground when they're excavating for a new mall. A whole bunch of other ones too. You'd recognize a lot of them, and they're all very good episodes, and of course well worth the watch. So I'm not sure at what point I stopped watching The Simpsons regularly, so as we get into the season 10 and beyond, I'll be interested to see how many I remember and kind of that point of where I kind of stopped watching regularly. Yeah, so can't wait for what's to come. Next, book 3 in the Keepers series, called The Portal and the Veil. As this story opens up, some of the wardens and some of the keepers are away from the Warren on other business, getting back from missions, whatever. And that is when one of the keepers, Chloe, who keeps the dragonfly, her mom Isabel is kind of crazy and has always wanted to be a keeper, but she was a tuner of the harp, and technically she can't be a keeper, but she's dead set on becoming one, and she's dangerous. And the little boy Joshua that she was taking care of, that's now under the care of the people at the Warren, she left with him a little magical ring that would point her to the location of the Warren. So then one night she activates it, shows up, takes Joshua, takes Brian, who is the keeper of Tunraiden, who he can shape and mend the keeper's Tangi objects. Then she gives Joshua his Tangi, which she believes is the Lathe of Tenebs, which is basically like a little earth that is capable of creating portables. portals, opening portals anywhere on the Earth, so quick escapes and quick entries and whatever. So she absconds with those two, and Brian accepts the challenge unwillingly, kind of, to try and mend Isabel's relationship with her harp and try and make her an actual keeper. As that process is happening, though, the evil Riven, Dr. Jericho, is drawn to the power that's being used, so he attacks his Riven attack, and then when the rest of the keepers, Mr. Meister, Horace and April and Chloe and all those guys get back, they have to go now rescue those three that are out there being attacked by the Riven. In the process of the rescue attempt, a few other ones get stranded there. April and oh god, I forget his name, the guy that keeps the staff, and Isabel get trapped, and then a rescue attempt is made by them, by Joshua with his new portal power. But the only problem is when he opens the portal, he leaves it open so that Dr. Jericho can see, and he sees the Warren, which leads them to discover its location. And soon after the rescue attempt is successfully made, the Riven are attacking the Warren, and everything ends up in chaos at the end of this book. It's kind of like the end of Empire Strikes Back. Like, everything's kind of up in the air. Like, oh, they lost their base, one of them got captured. Oh, you know, like, it's some dire stuff in that one. Next book. Second book from Ernest Cline, who wrote Ready Player One. This one's called Armada. A kid named Zach Lightman, who's just about to finish high school in rural Oregon somewhere. He's kind of like, when I read the back paragraph on this, I was like, oh, it's me. It's like, he hates reality, he doesn't want to be in school, all he longs for is like something out of his video games or comic books to come to life and lead him on a grand adventure. And I was like, oh, that exactly describes me, because that's all I want. But anyway, so he's obsessed with this video game called Armada, which comes with another game that's kind of more ground-based, whereas Armada is more of a flying spaceship kind of game. And so one day when he's at school, nearing the end of the year, he looks out and he sees one of the spaceships from the Armada game zipping through the atmosphere. And he thinks, oh, I must be going crazy like my old man. His old man died when he was just a baby in some sort of wastewater management plant accident. And over the years, Zach has gone through all of his old man's stuff, and he was a big video game fan, comic book, movies, TV, and he had all these conspiracy theories about how aliens actually exist, and the Earth knows, the government knows, and so then he puts it all behind him, goes to his job, after-school job at Starbase Ace, which is a used video game store. His boss, Ray, there, they get along like crazy because they're very similar type of people, and the next morning he wakes up, goes to school, puts it all out of his mind, and then that's when an Earth Defense Alliance, which is the good guys in his video game, one of their shuttles shows up and takes him away. And who's leading the shuttle mission but his boss, Ray. And then that's when Ray fills him in that, you know what, aliens do exist. They were discovered back in the 70s or 60s on the Jupiter's moon called Europa. And for years, an invasion has been expected, and little forays by the aliens have been made here and there. Earth has captured some of their tech. They've reversed engineered it. And Armada and its little side kick game with a ground-based one, I forget what it's called. They're basically simulators. They've been training Earth's population to fight back via drone for as long as the game has been out. And that's what video games have been out. They've been preparing the Earthlings for the fact of that, yes, there will be an alien invasion one day. So they've kind of been softening up to that kind of blow. So that's when Zach is like, okay, I guess I'm part of the Earth Defense Alliance, and he's one of the top Armada players, so he gets into it. And as he's shuttled up to the moon base, many more revelations and secrets and stuff are in store, and I don't want to give it away, but fantastic book. It's I zipped through it like that. It just basically describes my life, like I said. So, next book, the next Squirrel Girl book, Too Fuzzy, Too Furious. After the events of the first book, when they dispatched a new villain called the Micromanager, things have been kind of peaceful. Doreen Green, or Squirrel Girl as she's known, has been out solving minor crimes. But then one day a new mall is announced called the Chester Yard Mall. It's going to border Shady Oaks on one side and Listless Pines on the other. Two towns that don't like each other. Kind of like Springfield and what's called Shelbyville in The Simpsons. And there's something suspicious about the mall, though, and Doreen's best friend Anna Sophia gets that feeling right away, even though Doreen kind of doesn't. And then that's when the mall goes into overdrive for their promotions. A guy named Brian Lizardo is pumping a contest where Shady Oaks is going to be for Team Cat, and Listless Pines is going to be Team Dog. And between the two of them and how much they can pump up each of their animals, that animal that wins the contest is going to be the mall's new mascot. So they have to go, each town has to go and get as many votes as they can, and whoever wins the contest and gets the mascot will get a free pizza party. So at a rally, they give away dog and cat t-shirts, and the crowd gets unruly, and the more and more things that go on regarding this mall, the more shady it gets. So Anna Sophia goes online and starts doing some research. She thinks the mall is being backed by Hydra. Doreen's Squirrel Army go to investigate the mall, find out there's a secret hatch down to a basement beneath the mall where things shady seem to be going on. And then all this time, Doreen is going back and forth by text with the Avengers, trying to get them to come and help and do stuff. So that all leads up to this kind of adventure inside the mall where the truth is revealed, and Doreen, the Squirrel Girl, her best friend, and her legion of squirrels have to fight off Hydra all by themselves without any Avenger assistance. So fun, lighthearted story, just like the first one. The little side notes, the texting between Doreen and the various Avengers, this is probably the funniest part, because Thor acts like Thor, and you get a whole whack of them too. It's a whole mix. There's the Winter Soldiers in there, Rocket's in there, Spider-Man, and they're all really funny and funny to see how their personalities come out. So that is that. Next thing, NHL Faceoff 97. I bought it used, so I don't actually have the case, but which was for the PS1 and is the second edition of Faceoff after the first one, which I reviewed a number of videos ago. Was the first one in that series, and it's done by actual Sony. It's Sony's brand of hockey, and this game was very similar to the first one, except not quite as fun. They made a couple of small adjustments, like when your defensemen go back, they kind of turn around, as defensemen do, but then in the process of that, if you try and throw a hit, sometimes they go askew, and in this game, I found if the other team gets a breakaway, it's almost an automatic goal, no matter what. No matter how good your goalie is, they just score. And I think why I didn't like this one as much, outside of those two kind of differences, is that the Leafs team in that game, although they have a few good players, overall they're not great, and they're very, very slow. So the other team just got breakaways because I can't control the AI on the defense. If they come up, the other team gets a million breakaways, and that's what happened. And it was just so frustrating that I couldn't compete because I just kept getting torched by these breakaways, and I didn't want to use another team. But so that kind of brought it down. The first one, the NHL Faceoff, the original that I did a while back, I would have given it 10 out of 10 for its era and stuff, right? This one I'd probably give an 8 just because of those kind of minor problems I had. So fun game, worth the play though, and I've got 98 queued up to go next, so we'll see if there's any further changes. Next, Game Boy Advance game I found, Kim Possible 3, Team Possible. Kim Possible for me was a guilty pleasure cartoon when I was a bit younger. In this story, Kim and her family is away on a cruise. When they get back, they find out that the Possible family album, photo album, has been stolen, and there's monkey fur on the scene of the crime, so then it leads them on this adventure to track down the people that stole the photo album, and of course it all leads back to Draken, and so she has to fight him again. In this game it's neat because you can switch between her and Ron, and they each have some special gadgets. She has a grappling gun and a couple of mines and stuff like that. Ron has his Rufus, his naked mole rat Rufus, who can do certain things, as well as some other things, jet boots and stuff. And so it's kind of like a puzzle. You have to get through each kind of level by figuring out which gadget you have to use and that sort of thing. And then in the end, you face down the boss and win the game. Solid game, very good graphics, good gameplay, lots of fun. Typical of the Game Boy Advance style of game. Very well executed, as I found most of the games to be. The only problem is it's way too short. And that was the problem I always had with the GBA, is that the games just seemed to be way too short. But still, great game, worth the play. Next thing. This one was not too short. Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. So this is an RPG kind of game. You take turns going battling back and forth with your enemy after you finish exploring and finding an enemy. The story is that this weird little chap named Fawful has come to the land, and he's tricking everybody. He's given the toads this disease called the blorbs. He's given Bowser some weird things to eat. Bowser gets enraged one day and shows up at Peach's castle when they're having a meeting about what to do about the blorbs, and he inhales everybody, in no small part thanks to Fawful's interference. Oh, sorry. And so you have to basically work from within Bowser's body with Mario and Luigi as Bowser moves through the kingdom and tries to track down Fawful, and track down Peach, who Fawful kidnapped. And Fawful's ultimate plan is to get the Dark Star, which is a star that is dark and evil and malevolent, and enshroud the land in misery and darkness. And he's going to be the ruler of this. So you have to work your way through the land with Bowser, and when he gets stuck, you kind of take over as Mario and Luigi from within his body and fix whatever the problem is before you take over with Bowser again. And then sometimes you battle with Mario and Luigi, sometimes you battle with Bowser. But as you go along, you level up, you get new weapons and stuff like that, and it's just a really cool, well-done game that took a long time, and takes a lot of practice at first until you get used to the timing on the battles and stuff. But then once you do, it's just great. It's so much fun. You just peel through and do all you can to get your guys as high as possible and beat this little rascal. So I do have one more thing, although I don't have a case for it. James and I just finished recently playing Mega Man 7. Which was the first Mega Man one that was released. Mega Man 6 was NES, Mega Man 7 was Super Nintendo. And at the end of Mega Man 6, as I mentioned a while back, Mega Man actually managed just to finally capture Dr. Wily, put him in prison. Dr. Wily, though, had programmed 4 of his robots to come searching for him if they hadn't heard from him, and I think it was like maybe 6 months or 9 months or something. So they do that, they free him, and then once again, Mega Man has to engage Dr. Wily's bots and save the day again. So the 4 bots you initially have to fight that came to save Wily are Burst Man, Cloud Man, Junk Man, and Freeze Man, I think it was. And then after you defeat those 4, another 4 come. I think it was Shade Man, Turbo Man, a couple of others that started with S. But overall, again, there's 8 bosses you have to fight, and then once you fight them, back to Wily's castle, defeat his 4 stages, and you've beaten the game. Now, the Dr. Wily in this one is brutal. He always takes, the last number of games, he's taken on an initial form. Once you beat it, he goes to that little pod that floats around and disappears and shows up. And this was the hardest Mega Man battle I think I've ever, like Yellow Devil hard, that sort of thing. Like, it's up there in the top, like, 3, 4, 5 hardest parts of the Mega Man series that I've ever played. It was frustrating. Luckily, we have it on the Wii U, so I could create save points every time I got a hit on him, and he didn't get a hit on me because it's that hard. So, but it's great. We got through Mega Man 7, so we just got to get... I do have Mega Man 8, I believe, on the PlayStation, so we're going to play that next, and then we'll do 9, 10 after that, which we've already beaten in the past, but we'll do them again just because we're on a roll. And, yeah, and then that'll be the end of our Mega Man journey. So, but that is all for now. I've got more stuff. I'm off this week on holidays, so I'm sure we're going to be watching movies and doing other stuff. So I'll be back soon enough if I can peel my ass out of the backyard. It actually just happens to be an overcast day today, so that's the only reason I'm inside in the morning. So, but we'll see how the next week or so goes, and I'll be back.